Welcome to the 2025 Harrisville City Mayoral Candidate Debate, proudly hosted by the Weber Fraternal Order of Police. This event is being recorded, and technology permitting will be posted on social media to ensure those unable to attend can still view the discussion. My name is Derek Fisher, and I have the privilege of serving as president of the Weber Fraternal Order of Police. Our organization represents officers and deputies from across Weber and Morgan counties. Named after the Weber River that flows through both counties, our lodge is dedicated to serving our members by providing support, organizing events, and acting as a representative voice with local administrations and city leaders. We're also deeply committed to fostering strong relationships with the communities we serve, whether through service projects, community events, or outreach initiatives. City mayors play a critical role in managing the city and resources that ensure our communities have essential public safety services. They work collaboratively with the City Council to chart the course that best meets the needs of their community. The Weber FOP invited all the candidates, and we're happy to say that all were able to attend today. The focus of tonight's debate is public safety, a matter that affects us all. Members of the public, as well as the public safety professionals, including police, fire, and dispatch, were invited to attend and submit questions. Important dates. The election is November 4th, and the ballots should be arriving this next week. Questions were submitted via email prior to the debate, and those selected were chosen based on relevance to the topic, public safety, and community interests. Given the time constraints, we may not be able to address all the questions during debate. However, any questions that are not asked will be forwarded to candidates for written responses, which will be posted on our Facebook page. If time allows, after the prepared questions have been addressed, members of the audience will have the opportunity to ask the candidates any additional questions. This portion will be facilitated by the event moderator. Our candidates today are Roger Shuman, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and Michelle Tait. The introduction to the topic, public safety has become an increasingly less desirable career across the nation for a variety of reasons. Among the most significant challenges are the extension of retirement eligibility to 25 years of service under a retirement plan that no longer competes with benefits offered in surrounding states. Within law enforcement, there have also been cultural and policy shift. One that has introduced greater leniency for offenders while simultaneously imposing stricter expectations and oversight on officers. Combined with a growing sense of diminished recognition for critical work they perform, these factors have made it more difficult to attract and retain qualified men and women in this profession. Adding to these challenges is a concerning trend in the modern politics. Divisive rhetoric and smear campaigns, often aimed at gaining influence rather than building solutions, have created real consequences for both the public and the professionals who serve it. First responders are increasingly placed in volatile situations made worse by political narratives that unfairly label them through unfounded accusations of racism, extremism, or association with hateful groups. Such tactics erode trust, damage morale, and distract from the shared goal of safer communities. Despite these obstacles, Harrisville City continues to stand out for its professionalism and dedication. The city has consistently produced officers and firefighters who serve in integrity, commitment, and pride, reflecting both the strength of the community and the leadership that supports them. So we have the opportunity to host these debates. We put it together, candidates, resources, and the video, but it's all moderated by an outside entity. And today we have Zach, is it Bader? Baylor, sorry, that looked like a D, it's a scribble. Baylor, who used to be the Fremont High School debate coach and is currently assisting at the Weber High debate team. He teaches government and civic and politics at Weber High. And I'm going to let you go over the rule and enter from there.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you, Michelle and Roger, for coming today. So the rules for this debate. Each candidate will be allotted a 2-minute introduction and a 5-minute closing. So whoever goes first in the introduction will go second for the closing. We'll go first for the closing as well. When a question is asked, each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. And if another candidate is addressed during the first candidate's answer, then that second candidate will have a minute to respond. At my discretion, additional follow-up questions may be asked. So for our introduction, we will have 2 minutes for each of you. Do you have any questions before we begin? No? Perfect. All right. So for our first round, we'll have our introductions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, to describe their qualifications, and explain what makes them the best candidate to lead as mayor. And we will go ahead and begin with Michelle.
My name is Michelle Tait, and I've had the honor of serving the residents of Harrisville for nearly 2 decades. So 9 as a city council member, and the last 8 years as a member. And that was not consecutive, I just kept coming back. Right. Thank you. I've worked hard to build strong relationships with other cities, the county, and both elected and unelected officials. Collaboration matters. That's how we get things done. Through those partnerships, I've helped bring millions in funding to our city. After meeting with Representative Moore in Washington, D.C., we secured $2.5 million in appropriations for infrastructure. We also worked with the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity to bring nearly $600,000 for road improvements. Under my leadership, Harrisville has received CARES Act and ARPA funds, as well as ramp grants for playground equipment, each dollar going directly towards improving our community. Developing and attracting new businesses has been challenging, but I've been actively working on that effort to strengthen our city's economy and expand our tax base. With the exception of our Public Works Department, our city staff is now fully staffed and trained, which is an 8-year effort to build a team of exceptional people serving in every department. I also serve on the county transportation and housing subcommittees, along with WACOG, giving local input on state mandates. Beyond city work, I volunteer with Weber Communities That Care to help prevent youth alcohol, drug, and tobacco use. And I mentor recently released parolees, helping them reintegrate and learn positive values by example. Now, being a mayor is not a part-time job. I attend a minimum of 15 meetings a month, often from early morning to late evening, because I care deeply for the city and its future. It's rare for one mayor and 5 city council members to all make the wrong decision, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. I truly love serving this community, and I hope to continue that service. I'd be honored to earn another term.
Thank you, Michelle. Roger, whenever you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Roger Shuman, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Harrisville. Although, like Michelle, I've not served in administrative roles in the city government, but I do bring over 40 years of business experience, most of it in management, where I've led teams, balanced budgets, and made tough decisions. I've also served our city in the Harrisville Planning Commission, and I care deeply about how we grow and how we govern. I believe city government should be for the people and listen to the people. Residents deserve to have their concerns heard and respected. I will bring accountability, transparency, and steady leadership to City Hall. I stand for fiscal responsibility. We must control spending, avoid unnecessary debt, and use tax dollars wisely. When it comes to growth, I support smart planning, not turning Harrisville into the hub of high-density housing. We also need to attract more local businesses to support our economy. One of my top priorities is strong code enforcement. Our ordinance should be clear, fair, and consistently enforced. A clean, safe, and well-maintained community starts with holding everyone, including the city, to the same standard. I also want to bring back city celebration that involve residents from all areas of Harrisville, events that unite us, reflect our values, and strengthen our community spirit. Harrisville can remain safe, welcoming, and financially sound place to live, and I'm ready to help us there. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. The next round of our debate will be a rapid round. I will ask a question to both candidates, and they will respond yes or no. At the end of that round, we will have a clarification round where you will be able to elaborate on any of the answers that you give. That round will last 2 minutes, or 4 minutes, and each of you will have 2 minutes to respond and to clarify any answers. Okay. Roger, will you pledge to campaign and serve with civility and honesty, avoiding personal or misleading attacks against others?
Yes.
Michelle, same question. Thank you. Michelle, will you commit to meet regularly with first responder leadership, that's police and fire, to understand and address issues affecting public safety? Roger, same question.
Yes.
Thank you. Roger, do you believe a mayor must maintain a strong partnership with police and fire when making budgetary and operational decisions?
Yes.
Michelle? Yes. Thank you. Michelle, will you pledge to maintain competitive pay and benefits for city employees and first responders even during times of financial constraint? Yes. Roger?
Yes.
Roger, will you support transparency in public contracts and budgeting so residents can clearly see how public funds are used?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
All right, Michelle, will you attend a Citizens Police Academy or participate in ride-alongs with first responders during your term to better understand their challenges?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Roger, will you commit to represent the community as a whole and work collaboratively with the city council rather than allowing political conflict to stall progress?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. For our rapid round clarification, each candidate now has 2 minutes to clarify or elaborate on any of their rapid round responses. Would either of you like to hear any of the questions again?
Yes, I would, as you're asking them. I need some clarification on that, I guess. So you want 2 minutes for the whole thing or 2 minutes per each one of those?
For the whole thing, yes. So if there were any questions that you would like to elaborate on, for example, maintaining competitive pay for city employees or ride-alongs or anything, you may now elaborate. All right, and we will begin with Roger.
The only clarification I would make is in the question about competitive pay in tough times. I think that tough times come along and you have to try to make the best decisions you can to control safety and other things within the city. The bottom line can't always be raise taxes to get more or spend more money. Sometimes we just have to be willing to suffer. The business I'm in right now, we've had 3 of the hardest years we've ever had, and we have to lay people off, and we have to make other tough decisions, and sometimes that occurs. And then with regard to the police and security, we have to make sure that that we keep the city safe, that we can control. And I would work with the city police chief and work out a plan to make sure that we are keeping everything safe and secure.
Thank you. Anything else you would like to elaborate on in your answer?
No, I think everything else is pretty straightforward. I'd love to go do a drive around with the police. I think that would be awesome.
Thank you. All right, Michelle, is there anything you would like to elaborate on or clarify in your answers?
Sure, I get 2 minutes from now, right? Yeah, I think this is a great question. I love working closely with the police. I have a great relationship with all of them. I know all of them by name. I know their jobs, and I support them fully. I think working with those police, with the police department, with public safety means having an open line of communication, which we do. We meet weekly, if not more often than that, to find out the issues in the city and to bring me up to date with what's going on. I do have compassion for businesses that are going through hard times, but I also feel like we cannot take it out on our police department. We have a wage comparison study, and we need to make sure that they are paid accordingly to what they need to be paid, or we lose good quality officers to other departments. And we have experienced that, and that's why I said earlier, it's taken us 8 years to get a department back up and running. We have excellent training, we have excellent equipment, so we might not be the highest paid officers. They can go elsewhere, but they choose to stay in Harrisville because we've created a culture where we care about them, we give them the things that they need, and they care about one another, and then it goes on to caring about the community because we have provided those services. I can't remember all the other questions you've said, but I believe that we can work collaboratively, we can work to make sure our public safety is taken care of. It's important. When I first became mayor 8 years ago, it was a shock to me that there would maybe be one officer in the city at night, and I think that's when most of the crime would happen around my neighborhood, and I wouldn't want to be that. I met a new officer yesterday, and he was going into the academy, and I gave him kudos because that would be terrifying to me.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay. The next round of our debate will be long-form questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question, and I will ask it first to one candidate and then repeat the question to the second candidate. We'll begin with Michelle, so you'll have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Michelle, regarding law, accountability, and public trust, as mayor, how will you demonstrate accountability and ensure your administration follows the same laws and ethical standards you expect from the public?
All right, thank you. I think I've demonstrated this before in that we really don't do a whole lot of things in any department that is not run by an attorney. And we make sure that we're following all the rules and regulations. And we have a great team that are trained in our police department and public safety. They have training that we don't see in other departments around the county. And because of that, we are less likely to make mistakes in the department. And that means that there's less likelihood that there would be a lawsuit aimed at our department because they have been well-trained and they are up to date, and that we don't have a problem with that. I believe that we hold high standards. We have demonstrated that in, unfortunately, some other instances where we've had to have some investigations of employees, and we've held them to a higher standard because of that. It's not always easy to know that someone's not performing to the standards that you said. And I think that the standards actually should be higher for someone that's in public safety and public administration, that you have to know that somebody's always watching you, and you need to be aware of that and make sure that you are holding yourself to a higher standard. Because even though something you might be doing is completely innocent, if someone sees that and construes it the wrong way, it's detrimental to the whole department, to the whole city, and I'm not willing to do that. So I hold myself to a high standard. I hold the police department to a higher standard, public works, everything. I think that we need to make sure that we maintain a level of a standard that is beneficial to all.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll now repeat the question for you, Roger. Regarding law, accountability, and public trust, as mayor, how will you demonstrate accountability and ensure your administration follows the same laws and ethical standards you expect from the public?
Well, I think as I swear, if I am elected to be mayor, I'll be sworn in to obey the laws of the city and the government. And I've always tried to maintain a very much honest environment in my own personal life, and I would do the exact same thing as the mayor. I would also make sure that I'm keeping everything, any decisions that are made, transparent, communicating whatever I possibly can to the citizens without divulging sensitive information, and I would do the best I can to follow the laws and governance of the city.
Thank you. And you yield the rest of your time?
I don't need to use it.
All right. We'll start with Roger. We'll start with you for this next question.
Okay.
Regarding civility and political conduct, what standards should be met before making serious accusations? For example, an accusation of racism or fascism. And how will you set a higher bar for honesty and integrity in local political discourse?
Well, I mean, first of all, I have great respect for Michelle, and I tried to stay out of the mud pits with all sorts of stuff that goes on, and I don't think it's fair to anybody to go through that. And Michelle served the city for a long time, and although there's things that I disagree with the city, where the city's gone and things that have taken place, or responses I've got or I've not gotten from the city. I mean, I think that's what leads me to running for the mayor right now is you make a complaint to the city, you hear nothing. You make continued complaints to the city, you hear nothing. And some of that has nothing to do with Mayor Tait. Some of it has to do with employees of the city. I currently have a neighbor that breaks, I don't know how many codes in the city. I've submitted multiple complaints from running a large truck repair business to overpopulation of animals to garbage all over the lot, and yet it remains the same. And so again, I have much respect for Michelle. She happens to be my opponent. If she wins, I'll be happy to support her in the things that she does, and I hope she does the same for me.
Thank you. Michelle, I'll give you the same question now. Regarding civility and political conduct, what standards should be met before making serious accusations? For example, an accusation of racism or fascism, and how will you set a higher bar for honesty and integrity in local political discourse?
This is not always easy for people to understand. I think there's a mentality sometimes that we have a story and we want to tell it and we want to get out there and get people on our side and things. And I think as a mayor, as city employees, you can't do that. Things that happen within your city needs to stay within the confines of the city building. You hold your staff to a higher standard. If something is not met that way, you address it, but you don't need to advertise that, and you don't need to let everyone know that you've had a problem in there. If it does get out into the news, which I have been very effective in not doing, I see other cities and I feel for them when they are in the news, and I am very grateful that we have never had a problem with that. And I feel like that's because we hold, there's a saying I think that says you discipline in private and you praise in public. And I feel like that's what we've tried to do. And so we've been able to keep our standards high and not have accusations like that. And I believe that that's the right path.
Thank you both. Our next question I will direct to Michelle first. Regarding leadership and collaboration, how will you promote unity and effective collaboration with the City Council, the city staff, and public safety departments, especially when disagreements between those departments arise?
That's difficult, and I've had that happen before. I communicate. I had probably an hour-long conversation with one of my council members yesterday. They are welcome to call me anytime. I don't have a lot of people reach out in the city to me. That's unfortunate. If they want some clarifications, they could reach out to me, but that doesn't happen. But within the city, I feel like I am very vocal with my staff. I believe that if I take care of the staff, they will in turn take care of the city. And that takes a burden off of me to take care of everything, and I know that they are doing their job. How I provide the collaboration is I feel like before that maybe the public works were over in their area and the police department were downstairs and administration above. I have instituted a luncheon that I provide, I cook, I take everything over to the city once a month, and every department comes to that. And we are able to have the departments interact with each other, know who they are, care about themselves, and that way they have been able to know who to contact. If we have a flooding issue in the city, the Public Works Department knows to call the police, which one is over that. Same with the police, they know which one of my public works to call. Because they have that personal relationship, they know who to call, they know, and that has been a real benefit in the morale of the city and the culture of the city, which I've worked hard to change. And I believe that that's a great way to continue forward, and we'll keep doing that.
Thank you, Michelle. Roger, the same question regarding leadership and collaboration. How will you promote unity and effective collaboration within the city council, city staff, and public safety departments, especially when disagreements between those different groups arise?
Well, with my business experience of over 40 years, for over 30 years of that, I managed a large manufacturing facility where I had over 275 employees with multiple departments that had all different. You had to go through all different collaboration, and I had to develop teamwork, because you don't produce products without teamwork. You don't save costs without teamwork. And I'm real good at trying to build teams. I've played in sports, so I'm real familiar with how to work with team members. And I would work individually with everyone. I may not agree with everything everybody says, and they may not agree with me, but there's always common ground that can be found, and I would work to get to that common ground.
Thank you, Roger. Our next question I'll direct to you first, Roger. Regarding public safety, what specific steps will you take to improve retention, maintain morale, and keep your city competitive in pay, staffing, and working conditions for police and fire?
Well, unlike my candidate, she already knows what she's faced with the police. I don't know that. I don't know where the police sit today. I think they do a nice job. I've never had to, I think I've had them come to my house once or twice, and they've done a great job. So I think the very first steps I would have to do is figure out what everybody does, and what their jobs are, what their roles are, how they do it. I would look at competitiveness of pay across everywhere in like cities. I don't think if in Harrisville we're a small community, the police chief may not make the same money that a police chief does in Salt Lake City or in New York City or whatever the cities are across the country. But most certainly I would look at the wage comparisons and try to be as competitive as we possibly can with the budget that we have.
Thank you. All right, Michelle, regarding public safety, what specific steps will you take to improve retention, maintain morale, and keep your city competitive in pay, safety, and working conditions for both police and fire?
All right, let me clarify a little bit that we don't have our own fire department in Harrisville. We collaborate with Northview Fire. So I have a great relationship with Chief Maxfield there, but I don't necessarily tell him what to do in his budget and everything, just to clarify that.
Thank you.
So in our own public safety, we have the specific steps that I would take is, first of all, I think I need to make sure that I'm not interfering with what the public safety are doing. I'm talking to the chief all the time, and he had a vision for what he wanted his department to look like. And I wanted to support that. Whatever he needed that was feasible that we could do. And we've had to say no sometimes, but most of the time we've been able to say yes and get him the training that he needed for his officers. Like I said before, that training has established that we are doing the job right, that our officers are well trained and they don't make mistakes because they know before going into a scenario what the proper procedure for that scenario would be. I have tried to make sure that they are competitively paid. We are not the highest one in the county, for sure, but because of the other amenities that we have the vehicles that work well for them. We have a great motor pool that we pay into so we can get cars more consistently, and it it's a great way to do it. I wish I could have that at home. We have the training, like I said, the knowledge, and great staff. Sometimes we have a lot of applications, and the chief won't have them because he doesn't want whatever they are bringing into our community. He's very picky about who works for us, which I appreciate. That way he establishes or maintains what he's established in that department to maintain morale, to maintain all the training and all the effort that has gone in before.
Thank you. All right. Michelle, so this next question, we asked a similar one earlier that talked about how your departments will both demonstrate accountability. This question wants to know, how will you ensure that you and your administration follow all applicable laws and ethical standards? Do you believe that elected officials should hold themselves to the same expectations as the public? And would you refrain from running for office or remaining in office if you could not meet those standards? We'll start with Michelle.
Well, of course, I think that we need to have a high standard of conduct for us to be able to lead. And if you cannot maintain that, then you should not be in that position. I think I can say I've worked with enough leaders throughout the county that I can see the different direction that some of them are going as far as what they feel are important in their cities and what I feel is important in ours. And I think that makes a difference in their how their leadership affects their communities. And I really believe that you need to hold a higher standard, that you have to be that person they look up to and say that, yes, I'm going to do this, whether I have a full council room of people that are angry with me, if I feel like it's the right thing to do, if I've done the research, if I know that our attorney says it's right, if I know that we have had multiple experts on this, I will hold true to that. And that's not always easy. I know that I've had people, vehemently disagree with me, and that's a hard thing to do, because everyone wants to be liked, right? You want to please people, but in this position, you can't always please people. And I feel like that's the way I would still continue doing it going forward.
Thank you. Roger, same question. First, how will you ensure that you and your administration follow all applicable laws and standards? And would you refrain from running or remaining in office if you could not meet those standards?
First of all, I would make sure that I wouldn't be running for office if I didn't think I could keep up to those standards. I don't think there's any room for dishonest politicians or people that are in serving that are not obeying the law. I think that needs to be held to a high standard, higher than any other standard. I think everybody should obey the law. I think that there should be, whatever that law is and whatever the issues are. I don't think we should speed down the road, even though sometimes I do speed. I haven't gotten a ticket yet, but I might get one. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I think that laws are there to be followed, and it's the same with city government. Or federal government or state government or whoever. And I try to do that in my personal life, and whoever I work with, I'll ensure and make sure we follow the law to the standards that are set.
Thank you both. Control's giving me a little grief. Right. Roger, regarding economic development and growth, what types of development in the city would you prioritize? For example, business growth, improved parks, fewer high-density projects, or other long-term improvements?
I think we have to work on providing areas where businesses want to move to. I think that there's limited spaces that we have in Harrisville that are left. several years ago, before I left the planning commission, there was, I don't think there was more than 200 acres of property, and I think that even included the golf course that was remaining, and now that's being developed. I think so we have to try to secure spaces and help clean up spaces and help attract businesses to those spaces that can help benefit the city. The other thing is, I don't think that Harrisville needs to be the dropping point for all high-density housing. And I hear the term affordable housing, and I think affordable housing goes much deeper than stacking houses on top of each other. There's a development that's across the highway from where I live. It's a small piece of property, maybe 3 acres at the most, and they packed in all these apartments in there, and they sell for over $400,000, and I don't know that $400,000 in this day and age is considered affordable. So I see developers making huge amounts of money, and I think that the city's gotten to a point where we've gotten our fair share of high density, and I'd like to see less high density moving forward on the small remaining portions of property that we have.
Thank you, Roger. Michelle, same question. What types of development would you prioritize? For example, business growth, improved parks, fewer high-density projects, or other long-term improvements for the city?
Can you say that one more time, the first part again?
What types of development would you prioritize?
All right, development is not the easiest thing. People say, I'll bring in businesses, I'll do this or that. It's not that easy. During the first part of my first term, I met with Steve Waldrop of Boyer Corporation, and they had been doing the Walmart area, and asked them what they could do to bring in more businesses and fill in the lots that were there. He met with us for quite a while, and unfortunately said that they go to conferences and conventions, and they put forth the maps and things that they want other businesses to come and say, and they are not interested in what we have. They say you don't have enough rooftops, that we need more housing in order to get the businesses, which, I mean, we have Highway 89 going through it. It feels like we should have enough for the businesses. Unfortunately, he also said that any sit-down restaurants, there have been very few that have been built in the last, I think it was 8 years at that point. So that would be 10, 12 years at this point. They just don't build those. The people are more in a hurry. They don't want that. I didn't just agree with what he's saying, but that's what the proposition was there. And as far as high-density housing, Harrisville has worked very hard to keep all of the tall apartment buildings out and try and keep everything as a owner, so that you can own your own home, so that you can progress that way. Some of the ones along the highway where it makes more sense to have the high density housing because most people wouldn't want to live there, we have allowed some of that. But you have to understand that we have requirements from the legislature, and if we don't allow some of this, they withhold our road funds, and we get fined daily, and those fines go into the homelessness fund. So we have requirements that we have to follow.
Thank you, Michelle. Our next question deals with differentiation of vision and leadership style. I will ask what you think, I'll ask the question. Because it deals with your opponent, each candidate will have a minute to respond to the first person's response. Okay. Starting with Michelle, what do you believe sets you apart from your opponent in terms of leadership style, decision-making, and the vision you bring to this position?
Well, I feel like I'm a conservative, but I'm also a little bit progressive. I want to see what we can do better, how we can be better. I feel like I've tried to do that in my life, and I want to do that in the community. And if something doesn't work, we don't just hold on to it because that's tradition. We are willing to put that aside and try and find something better. I worked really hard for years on Heritage Days, and I was very sad to see us put that aside. But we cannot commit funds and commit people that won't come, won't show up. And we have had to say no more on Heritage Days, which is very sad to me. But once again, we have to go forward, we have to progress. And sometimes those are growing pains, and I don't like them any more than I expect anybody else to like them. But that's what I feel like I have to do. I just have a minute? Is that what you said?
You have 2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes to do this? Okay. So yes, going forward, I feel like I have to make hard decisions. We have made a lot of hard decisions, but yes, replace some of those things. I know people have said we need to have this, or more city celebrations. It does cost money, and I've gone to a lot of businesses, established relationships with them for their donations, but they are tapped out too. Sometimes they can't give what I would like them to give for the city. So we have to bite on the bullet and say we can't do everything we would like to do just because we like to do it. We have to look forward. We have a great fall festival coming up. I feel like we have changed the dynamic in our city where we don't compete with all the other cities for the 4th of July crowd. We have a fall festival where we can have fireworks at 7:30 at night, and the kids can all stay up and watch them and still go home in time for bedtime.
Thank you. Just for some additional clarification, is there anything that you say sets you apart specifically from Roger in your leadership style? I'll give you another 30 seconds for that.
All right, I don't really like this question. How's that? I don't know what Roger's leadership style is. I know what mine is. I know that he's had experience in the business world. I worked for the post office for 36 and something years. During that time, I also was a state secretary treasurer. I was Western State's vice president and president. I have led numerous people in different things, and I felt like I've always taken just a little bit different course than what was before, and I feel like it's helped and shaped me for who I am now.
Thank you. So, Roger, I know she didn't discuss much specific to you. Would you like a minute to respond before I put the same question to you?
No, because I don't like the question either.
Okay, well, I'm going to put the question to you as well. What do you believe sets you apart in terms of leadership style and the vision you bring to this position?
I think what brings me to this position, and I mentioned it earlier, is I think there's, and this may or may not have anything to do with Michelle, and unfortunately where Michelle is sitting as the mayor, it probably has something to do with her, but I don't want to point it out to be just Michelle, because when I seen this email come over that said debate, I thought, my lands, I didn't sign up to do debates. What I signed up to be was I want to go to a public meeting and feel like as we've left that we've been respected, we've been heard, and we're going to try to have some action based on the majority of the people. I can say today I don't know that that's happened. There's bonding issues and other issues that have been taking place that seems to go the direction of the city administration, and I know they have the reasons why they're doing it and all the rest, but it seems way out of whack. And yet the majority of the citizens came out with a referendum to try to stop it, and yet instead of stopping it and moving a completely different direction, all we did was try to find other ways to get more debt. And I think that's one of them. The other part of it is that I want to make sure that people feel like they've been heard, that we don't walk out. Many of the people I've talked to, as I've talked to residents since I put my name on this ballot, is that they don't feel like they've been heard. They feel like, why should I go to a public hearing when they're not going to do anything about it anyway, or they're not going to change their direction? And unfortunately, I feel the same way. So,
thank you both. Michelle, would you like any time to respond to that?
Yes, please.
You have up to a minute. Actually, I'm just gonna. Nope, you have a minute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think there's a misunderstanding with the bonding and the referendum. I feel like some misinformation has been out there that this bond was put out for referendum, voted upon, and then we did not listen, which is not what happened. We needed to replace the Public Works building because we were illegally where we were. We needed to expand, we needed to grow, so we're going to build a 50-year building to do that. In the meantime, we had determined that our building, as far as the administration, was inadequate too, so we needed to find a way to do that. As we were doing this and bonding, it came up that maybe we should have a recreation center or something. That's the vote that people voted down. They said they did not want a recreation center. There is no recreation center being built, and no one went against that in doing the bonds that we have. So the voice of the people was heard. There was no bond created after that.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that question, or to what she just said?
Yes. I'll give you 45 seconds.
So I don't get a minute?
Yes, you can have a minute.
So I think to respond back to Michelle's issue, I think that many of the meetings I've been to, it's, number one, I don't think half the city council even understood what they were bonding for or how much they were bonding for. At least that was the opinion I got as a citizen. The next thing, we talk about a 50-year building that we spent excessive amounts of money designing and building, an $8.5 million parking garage. I drive by it every morning, and either in the nighttime the lights are all lit up, or the trucks haven't moved in weeks or months. And I went on a tour of the facility, and the guy that took me on the tour, I asked him about how much maintenance we actually do inside the building. He said none. I said, well, why didn't we just build a normal parking garage then instead of a glass palace? And I think ultimately the architect got under everybody's thing and painted a picture of something that we don't need. It's very excessive. And I think the citizens, not just myself, but everybody else feels the same way.
Thank you. We're going to move on from this topic. I have one more question in this round for you both. I'll put it to Roger first. Regarding your strengths and weaknesses, what personal or professional strengths best prepare you to lead as mayor? And what is one area where you believe you need continued growth or support?
Well, most certainly my growth, what I would need is, I don't understand totally public sector, and I don't understand the thinking process behind it because I've never been in it, other than serving on the planning commission, and that's in a whole different world. And I've had communication with other current serving city mayors and talked to them and people that have come from business worlds, and they've told me that my eyes will be yet to be open because his comment to me was that the vision seems to be from the public sector or the city employees or government employees in general is, well, we need this so we can just raise taxes. And yet in the private sector where you're running a business, you have to figure out how to get revenue. And I'm all about getting more grants and other things to help pay for it, and I've also seen my taxes go through the roof, not just from Harrisville City, but all across the county, across the state, and at some point it has to stop or you can't afford to live, and so I would try to do the best at learning what the public people have to deal with that I haven't had to deal with. I've dealt with the private sector. When you don't have revenue, you have to let people go. When you have other problems, you shut businesses down. That's the world that I'm from. And that's not how the government sector works. And I most certainly would have to acclimate myself to that.
Thank you. All right, Michelle, same question. What personal and professional strengths best prepare you to lead as mayor, and what is one area where you believe you need continued growth or support?
Okay. I feel like I am very good at, excuse me, at interacting with people. I remember names. I know who they are. I have friends in every community in the county now, and up through the county. And I have made collaboration with them so that when we do need something from them, I know I have their phone numbers on my phone. I can text them. I can call them. When we needed some support letters for our grants, I needed them really quickly, and I called, and they were willing to support me because I had made a relationship with them. And I tend to remember people. And maybe that's because I delivered mail for almost 40 years, that I remember names and I remember who they are. And I'm pretty good at that. I feel like I'm a people person and I like people. Overall, one of my weaknesses, I feel, is that I need support when I feel like I have been, when I have been, I don't even know how to say the word, that I am not liked. I feel like I want to please everyone. And so that's maybe a way that I need to, I have toughened up, I believe. I don't want to go home and cry anymore, which I first did. I don't do that. I have toughened up, but I don't like that about myself. I liked that I was more tender. I liked that I could feel things deeply. I still feel them, but my physical reaction, I think, is different. But I feel like that support is where I always will need, because I feel like I can always improve in everything I do. I can always improve my interactions with others. I can improve the support that I feel from others and not feel so targeted when things are out there, and know that probably wasn't my decision, or it was a lack of information for someone.
Okay. Thank you both. That concludes this round of our debate. The next round will be an open mic for the public. We will now open the floor for questions from the public. Each member of the audience may come up here. You may take this chair next to me. I'll hand you the microphone, and you may ask one concise question to the candidates. And each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to that question from the public. Would anybody like to come up? If we have no questions, should we just proceed to the closing? Okay, perfect. All right. With no questions from the public, we will proceed to our closing statements. Michelle, since you began and opened first, we will let Roger close second. And I will give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes, starting, and I will start the timer when you start speaking to make your concluding remarks.
Okay, so I am first.
Yes, you are
Okay.
first.
That didn't make sense to me, that if I start first, that I start first again.
I set it up that way because I feel like, right, the stronger the opening statement's more memorable, whoever goes first in the opening, and the closing statement's more memorable. So I wanted to give you guys equal opportunity for that.
All right. Thanks for the explanation. All right. So over the past years, as mayor, I feel like I've created real momentum in the city of Harrisville. And that momentum is something I want to continue building on. I'll keep working to strengthen our city's revenue sources to support balanced budgets and maintain the essential services our citizens rely on. And one of the things that I think people don't understand about applying for grants or having some incoming money is the city always has to match. They have to provide either a 10% up to even a 50% match on some of those grants. So we can't always go after a lot of outside money. We have to provide some skin in the game for that. But as growth continues to come our way, I'll ensure that housing and development remains in the best interest of the community. I actually serve and am chair of WACOG, which is the Weber Area Council of Governments. I am their housing subcommittee chair. And with that, I meet monthly with other mayors and administrators in the community and our league, Utah League of Citizen Towns. I meet with the president, or I can't remember the other one there, but we meet and they give us the information that's coming down from the legislature and what we can and cannot do and what our requirements are for going into the next year. Some of those things are something that we don't want. We don't want them to take away our ability to zone and tell us what we can and cannot do, which is what the legislature wants us to do. So we are trying to fight back on that, provide feedback, and that's what this meeting does, is let them know that we are working in Harrisville, we are working in Weber County to do our part, and they don't need to tell us what we need to do. I'll continue nurturing the relationships I have with other cities. I know them by name, I know their families, I know the difficulties they're going through in their cities. The mayors actually meet once a month for a dinner, which I thought was ridiculous at first, but they've helped me through so many things, and as the new ones come in, I can see that that's a benefit to them, that they can bring their questions to us in a safe environment, and we can help them through some of the things because becoming mayor is like drinking from a fire hose. And those relationships really matter. They also matter when we need mutual aid with our police departments or our public works department. When we have natural disasters, we can call on other cities or we can be there for them. And we know who to call, and they do too. Going forward, I know we'll have new council members. I plan on giving them the training that they need in order to bring them up to speed for what they need to do. People do not realize the mayor doesn't have a vote. The council members vote. So the mayor might bring things up on the agenda. They might conduct the meeting, but they are not the voting members. It all falls on the council. And I had been a member of the council before and kind of found that, I'm like, I don't have a decision. I can't do that. It's a more powerful position to be on council than it is as a mayor. And I had to wrap my head around that for a little bit, that I don't have those decision-making abilities to do anymore. But they do, and they need to know what they can and cannot do to stay within the law, and what sometimes we cannot discuss things outside of our meetings. We have a closed meeting sometimes to discuss character, or if we were planning on selling or purchasing a property that we needed to keep that private. Those are closed meetings. But other than that, everything is open, and we have to educate those new council members on what they can and cannot do with those. We have a city newsletter. I write an article in that every month, and it feels like that comes around much more often than I would like it to. But I choose to do that. I choose to try and fill in the citizens on what I feel is important or what has happened, along with the news that goes in the newsletter. Probably because I go to different meetings than just have our public meetings. I have been able to bring back our youth YCC. I did that for years when I was on the council. I brought it back, and I've also brought back the senior citizen program. It might not be huge, but we meet once a month, and those people love it, and I'm proud of that. Harrisville's been my home for 31 years, and I've been honored to serve it in various capacities, and I feel like that's what I do, is I serve. Service is a big part of me. It's been for most of my life, and I hope I can continue to do that.
Thank you, Michelle. I will reset the clock, and I will invite Roger to give his concluding remarks.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm running for mayor because I believe Harrisville deserves steady, accountable, and responsive leadership. You know, I think Michelle, with all of her service, I commend her for that service. I can also tell you that I don't have the years of administrative experience that Michelle has, but I bring a different skill set of things to this job, and that is the 40 plus years of business experience that I have. Although it may not 100% go across the board for everybody and where it's at, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's not things I'm going to need to learn, but you can be assured that I know how to collaborate with other people, communicate with other people. I've had to do it my whole life, and not only have I had to do that, I've had to sell things as well. I've had to sell to my salespeople. I've had to get them to be able to sell, and I have to sell to all my employees every day. So as I communicate with the city councilman on the different aspects, the other thing I think that I would also bring to the table is I see the city council, and I've communicated with many of the current city council, and I can tell you in the most part that the people I've talked to, they know very little about what they're passing. They know very little about the money they're spending. And unfortunately, as a business person, when you communicate with somebody that doesn't know anything about how much they've spent or where they're at with certain items, it makes you wonder if they're rubber stamping the things as they come through and not spending the time. And quite frankly, there was one particular city council that told me that that's all he does, that he doesn't have the time to sit down and study the issues. So I would make sure that they understand the issues that they're voting on before they ever vote on them. I will focus on fiscal responsibility, smart planning, strong code enforcement, and bringing back community involvement. I want to preserve the small town character that makes Harrisville special while preparing for a strong and stable future. I'm not here for politics. I'm here to serve the people of Harrisville with common sense, transparency, and respect. I'd be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you both. That concludes all the rounds of our debate and the debate as a whole. I want to thank you both for coming and turn the time back over